And so we're just playing. We'll play for an hour until service starts. Until one Sunday, these two white kids were on the hill with us. And at some point, I realized they weren't just playing by themselves. They were throwing rocks and stones kind of near us and then eventually at us. So I said, JT, let's go. So we started walking away. We walked down the hills, and they followed us. And at some point, I panicked. I ran. And my brother is 7 years younger. I was 12. He was 5. All I could remember is him saying, Kaka, Kaka, which is Mandarin for brother, brother, because he was afraid of being left behind. There were two memories that I take away from me from that day. One, what was it about me that I would leave my younger brother behind? The terror and the fear that I heard in his voice. The second thing I walked away with from that day was this. I thought, why were they picking on us? It's a park. The hill did not belong to them. And I could not shake off the question, this question. Were they picking on us because we looked different than them? Fast forward to our seminary years, and a good friend of mine was named Will. Will was an offensive lineman for the University of Illinois. He was eventually drafted by Baltimore Ravens, went to training camp before eventually, he didn't make it, he got cut. The Lord called him, and he came to seminary to be in the Master of Divinity program. We had a good laugh about that. He thought he was going to make millions, and now he's an MDiv student, Oh, well. But he was a big dude, right? I mean, he was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens to play the offensive line, to be an offensive lineman for them. So I go up to him, and every time I see him, I'm like, hey, Big Will, what's up? And he would go, yo, what's up, little Felix? Kind of become our thing, Big Will, little Felix, Big Will, little Felix. Until one point, he pulled me aside. He said, hey, listen, I got a question for you. He said, man, why is it on this campus that whenever I walk past an Asian woman, they always turn their face away from me and pretend like I'm not there? Like, I sense fear. And I said, dude, you're a big dude, man. Like, you could crush me. And he said, you sure it's not because I'm black? No, Will, no, man. No. My guess is that those experiences are not mine alone. My guess is that there are many of you in this room who have walked on this campus and wondered, did I get a second look because of the color of my skin? Did the professor not call on me because I just look this way? Did the RA write me up because she doesn't know where I come from? Did I get a lower grade in that class because I disagree with what the professor said? Because that's not my cultural upbringing, my background? Did I not get invited to that party and to that outing because I disagree with them about what happened with Trayvon Martin or Eric Garner? Did I get excluded because I feel differently about the last couple different elections that we've had and the trajectory of our country? My guess is that each and every one of you could recall an instance, no matter what the color of your skin, where you wondered, did this happen to me because of the hue of my skin? And I don't think you need convincing that in this world, in this country that we live in today, it seems like we are reliving the civil rights struggles of the 60s. It seems that the kind of conflict and tensions between different racial, ethnic groups, things that we thought we would only read in history books and watch on PBS and documentaries, seem to always come back. And I bet you, no matter what the color of your skin is, you have found yourself in conversations where you thought, oh, this is getting awkward. I don't understand. I don't know, and I'm afraid that I may say the wrong thing. Or you may think, that looks cool, that looks fun, I want to be a part of that, but I'm not sure if I'll be accepted. You may think, I love it here, but the faculty and staff, they don't look like me, so who will actually advocate for me? I don't think that any of you will need any convincing that we live in a world where racial tension continues to exist. What I want to share with all of you today is that that's part of the reason we are putting together a whole chapel series called the Beloved Community. There are two reasons for that. The first one is this. You, more than anybody else, know that as you grow into adulthood, this country will look different than the country that I grew up in, and will look vastly different than the country that your parents grew up in. And you will have to figure out what it means to live in harmony with one another for the sake of your future and your children's future. You know that. You know that more than we do. You know that this country will become more and more diverse, will become more and more multicultural. Demographers are now predicting by that maybe as soon as 2030. And if you come from states like California, you already know that there is no majority group in that state. We are a nation. We are becoming a nation of minorities. And how we interact, how we befriend, respect, relate, understand one another will become key to our future. And you also know that our track record as Christians haven't always been the best. In fact, some would say that the Sunday morning church hour is the most segregated hour in America. And some of you, even just look around this room. This may have been what we just experienced this morning, what you're experiencing right now, may just be the most diverse worship experience that you've had. Just because, and I'm not saying just for white students, I'm saying that even for students of color. I grew up in a Chinese immigrant church. This is the most diverse worship experience that I've had here at Trinity. So that's the first reason. Our world is becoming more and more diverse, and we have to figure out how to relate to one another. The second is this. In light of this, Trinity International University made a commitment to adopt a racial reconciliation statement. What is this statement? It outlines our commitment to equipping and training our students for this world, but also to live as a reconciled community. A group of faculty and staff got together to write the statement. It was about a 6-month process, establishing the theological and biblical foundation of it. We come down to a 1-page commitment statement that all faculty and staff have to agree to in order to serve here. All right? We submitted it to the Board of Regents, and the Board of Regents reviewed it, looked it over, and they actually took time to really review everything to make sure that they are fully on board, because they wanted to make sure that this statement was adopted unanimously by every member of the board, because they felt that it was critical for our school, for you as our students, to know that we are committed to living as a beloved community in all aspects of our institution. So I have a few quick texts that I just want to kind of point out. Won't have time to go through all of it, but part of the chapel series this semester is going to be in reviewing these things, in talking about these things, in exploring about it as a community, because we don't want this to just be a one-off. Like, okay, everybody, be reconciled, forgive one another, let's go, woohoo, we're united. No, it's not like that. It is way too complex. It is way too messy. And we want to take a sustained time as a community to reflect on it together. The statement is driven by what the Apostle Paul says in Philippians chapter 2. He says this: if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if you have any comfort from His love, if you have any common sharing in the Spirit, any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. We do what we do out of the reality and the finality of what Jesus Christ has done. So you see that the opening of the commitment statement says that we commit to these things in light of the supremacy and authority of Scripture and the theological foundations and principles that flow from it. In other words, our commitment to racial reconciliation is rooted in who God is as revealed through His words. It is not a passing fad or a trend. It is not because it is politically expedient for us to do something like this. It is not because there's a donor who's promising to give us money. We do this because this is who we believe God to be. And this is who we believe God has revealed Himself to us. It is a faithful response to the nature of our Trinitarian God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. 3 persons, yet one. The statement continues. Isaac can advance the slide. The following commitments focus on relationships and racial reconciliation, recognizing our tendency to discriminate against those unlike us, and that this tendency to discriminate is a universal product of the sin nature. We make this commitment because we believe that we need a response to the reality of human fallenness. We're not pointing fingers saying, oh, just because you're so-and-so, you're racist, or just because you're so-and-so, you don't get this. No, this is something that we all share as human beings. I mean, we learn from the story of Cain and Abel back in Genesis chapter 4 that the tendency to discriminate is not something new, but it's a result of alienation from God, human sinfulness, brokenness, and fallenness. And then the next slide, it says, given the relational nature of our loving and just triune God, given our dignity and value as creatures made in the image of God, given the alienating brokenness of the world, which are the 2 things I just mentioned so far, here's the key. Given the reconciling work of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, and the peacemaking task to which we are called. True, genuine reconciliation is only possible through the saving work and resurrection power of Jesus Christ. True reconciliation can only happen through Jesus. This doesn't mean that the rest of the world can't be reconciled, but we as Christians actually have the secret sauce. We have the silver bullet. I went to a state school, and the experience talks about equality and diversity and reconciliation from a secular perspective. And when I came to Trinity, I went to a professor and I said, I don't see anything different than how we sometimes talk about reconciliation as Christians, as those who talk about reconciliation without knowing Jesus. There's something different about how we as Christians talk about reconciliation because we have been reconciled with God. And He is the one who is empowering us, indwelling in us to give us the ability to forgive, to be reconciled, to pursue justice together. Reconciliation is not possible apart from Christ. So what does this mean? We have 3 commitments that we are making. And again, we will flesh this out throughout the semester. One is that we commit to the biblical practices consistent with peacemaking and reconciliation. We're going to talk and teach a robust biblical theology of reconciliation. We want to create spaces for everyone to have meaningful conversations. I mean, haven't you been in one of those settings where you're just wondering? I mean, like what James did today, right? He says, in my faith tradition, we do this. In my church tradition, we do this. And you're going, oh my goodness, now I understand. He was our cultural guide in helping us understand this is why we do what we do. And so many times, our defenses go up. Oh, this is different. Oh, music is too loud. Oh, I can't sing the same word over and over again. This is not biblical. Woo! And all we needed was somebody like James and Taylor and Marlene and Alyssa to come alongside and go, this is why we do what we do. And all of a sudden you go, oh, now I get it. And then people from other cultures start explaining to us, this is why we do it this way. This is why this is important to us. And we slowly began develop a richness of understanding. We want to create spaces where questions can be asked. Sometimes we react to questions of naivete as if they are questions of ignorance or discrimination. Okay, give me an example. When I was in seminary, I was talking to somebody about, as a Chinese Christian, this is how I understand the work of Jesus Christ, especially focusing on the aspect of honor and shame and losing face. And a good friend of mine, he goes, Theo, man, I'm offended. I'm like, oh, what's up? What's up, Steve? He said, man, I'm offended because we've known each other for a long time, and you never told me that you were Chinese. We're just Christians, man. And you know what? I realized at that moment I had a choice on how to respond, right? I'd be like, man, Steve, that is the most racist statement I've ever heard you say. Man, what do you mean you don't know I'm Chinese? What do I got to do? It's like, they're just ignorant. Stop being colorblind, right? By the moment I realized, you know what? He has never had somebody come alongside him to help him understand, to explain to him. And if I respond in a way that's aggressive or angry at that moment, he would shut down. And he might never ask that question again. So I said, you know what, Steve, that's a good question. Let's go out and grab a cup of coffee. I'm going to tell you why I'm Chinese. And how being Chinese influenced my understanding of who God is and how we worship together. So we're committed to creating these safe spaces here in and outside the classroom. We're committed to also to practice biblical practices of justice. Because here's part of the reality. And I'm going to like drop something right now, and you might be like, whoa, what the heck is that? But just hang in there with me, okay? Because we're going to flesh this out. Whatever I say that I don't say correctly, Dr. Woolley will fix it on Friday. But here's the thing. You can't have racial reconciliation without a conversation on justice. All right? Because here's the as a country and as a nation, racism has been at the root of, has imbued our history. Many things that we see now is not something that can simply be reversed with a policy or a decision, because it's been in the making since the beginning, since the inception of this country. Right? And it's a lot, okay? But for us to truly become reconciled, we have to understand that racism and racial inequality is not something that simply arrive and can simply depart. It has a history, and it takes time for us to undo the tentacles of racial inequality. And this is our third commitment. We commit to the practice of affirming Christ-centered unity in diversity. And what does this mean? We know that you will have to lead and serve in an intercultural and international context. So we're going to review our practices. In fact, in a second, I'll introduce you to our implementation team. And we have broken up essentially into 3 areas. One is academic, curriculum, and pedagogy. Does our curriculum cover the full background of our student body and our nation's history? Is our pedagogy, the way that we teach, pedagogy, is the way that we teach culturally sensitive and responsive? Is the way, our faculty, are they reflective of our student body? Are we going out and intentionally recruiting faculty members who can teach our diverse student body? So that's one, academic. The other one is student atmosphere, campus atmosphere. Are we engaging in the kind of groups and practices and traditions that doesn't just simply prefer one group over another? And then no matter what your background is, when you come here, you can see yourself represented and valued here. That you know that you belong because our chapel speakers look like you. That you know that you belong because our worship practices are the kind of worship practices that you experience at home. It's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for everybody, right? Because there's no one person who can be like a chameleon and like switch races in like 30 minutes, right? But are we representative of all of who we are? And the last group is looking at institutional structure, our employee training, our board of composition, where we may invest, where we may be involved in. Are they representative of our diverse country? We have an implementation team who will be looking into these things, who will be looking at these things. So Isaac, if you can pull that up. And I want to invite one of the members. You can see there, Dr. Bruce Fields, who serves as a faculty member at TEDS, is a co-chair with me. Lisa Weathers, who serves in the president's office. I think she's over here. She's right there in the corner. She's on the team with us as well. Dr. Wayne Johnson, who serves as the associate dean for the Divinity School. You know Dr. Don Hedges, who serves as the associate dean for the college and the graduate school. Dr. Peter Cha, who began the Mosaic Ministries, and Dr. Lori Matthias here in the second row is also on that team. Shelley McDaniel serves in human resources. We also have two students, Aaron Moore, who's an intern at Progressive Baptist, also as an MDiv student. We have also have Jenny Olayo, who's also serving as the college student representative. And some of you have also received invitation. Again, as I mentioned, the implementation team is breaking up into 3 groups. We are looking at each of these things. So we have gone out and invited other members of our community, faculty, staff, and students, to come and bring their voices and bring their input, bring their insights, bring their perspectives, so that we can have a full orb, rich perspective as we tackle these things together. So I'm going to invite Jenny to come up right now, actually. And I've asked her to just come up and share about why she said yes. I mean, I sent her this email. I'm like, hey, Jenny, this is what's been going on. Blah, 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 blah. It's going to be a lot of work. Come on. And would you like to be a part of it? Because we would love to have you. And she said, yes. So, like the Bachelorette, here's the RRIT edition of why she said yes. So, Jenny Olayo.
Hello. Hi, guys. I'm a little nervous, so. I remember the first time that they invited me to go to the meeting, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, everyone's a doctor, like, I was raised in the hood, like, what am I doing here? And so I'm gonna tell you a little bit. I'm gonna try to cool down. Okay, so a lot of us like to be comfortable. We like to sit around people who look like us, that act like us, that speak like us, that dress like us. And you can see that like in the classrooms, you can see that when you hang out, you can see that on your posts, you know, everything. You like to be comfortable. But I want to challenge everyone to get to know someone who's not like you, that doesn't look like you, that doesn't speak like you, that doesn't listen to the same music as you do. Some of the best people that I've met here on campus are actually way different than I am. Some were born on, raised in by cornfields, middle of nowhere. Some in very wealthy areas, some also in the slums. Like, everyone's different, and everyone has something to bring. If you didn't know me, you wouldn't know what my weekend was like. And actually, last week before I moved in, I was like woken up like around 6 in the morning with like a helicopter like right above my house because there was a shooting. And this weekend, my block loves to have parties, and like everyone has like a block party. Everyone's like competing for the music. And this weekend, all these like 5 block parties had like a big fight, and the cops had to come. And for some people, that's their reality. Like, you don't know anybody. Like, don't assume anyone's story. And you could also look just like me and live in a very wealthy area. Like, you just can't make assumptions. So I challenge you to get to know somebody else that's different than you. Also, for the faculty, don't assume that we all came from the same school. Some of us were homeschooled. Some of us went to private schools. Some of us went to rich public high schools. Some of us went to a ghetto high school. Like, you don't know anyone's reality, and you can't assume that everyone had the same education when they walked into this building. I thought that everyone had metal detectors at their school and bulletproof windows. Like, that's what I thought. Well, that's not the case. Everyone has something different and something to bring. And also, you didn't come to school to be a thug. So don't come to school and not go to class. Like, someone probably doesn't have, the right status. They don't have the right immigration status, or they don't have papers, so they can't get financial aid, but they love school and they have good grades, but because of that, they're not here today. So make that effort, really push forward. Another thing, as I pull out my phone, is I don't know if you guys heard about the story of Molly. Do you guys know? She was like shot, she wasn't shot, she was like killed recently in Iowa. If you guys know the story, they were making like when I saw it like all over the news and the media, my heart completely sank, because it said, that the girl was killed by an illegal immigrant who was Mexican. And for me, I was like, oh my gosh, like that really makes this look bad. I am Mexican, if you didn't know. And that's not everybody's case. Not everybody is like that. And so this is a post that Molly's mom wrote, and I'm going to read it. It says, "No, no, and no, especially for those of you who did not know her in life. You do not get to accept Molly and her legacy for your racist false narrative. Now that she is no longer with us, we hereby reclaim our Molly. Molly was a young, intelligent, caring woman with a ready smile and a compassionate heart. So many across the state of Iowa and the entire country embraced her and us. As we all searched and hoped for her safe return, it was not to be. Molly was killed, and a man has been arrested and charged with her murder. Yes, that man is an immigrant to this country, with uncertainty as to his legal status, but it matters not. He could have been a citizen, born in the country. He could have been an older white man from anywhere. He could have been a man from Molly's world. He is a man whose path in life crossed that of Molly's life with tragic results. He is a man whose life entitled to impose himself on Molly's life without consequence. He is a man who, because of his sense of male entitlement, refused to allow Molly the right to reject his advances, the right to her own autonomy. Molly was murdered because a man denied her right to say no. And that didn't come from anyone else but Molly's mom, which I thought was pretty wow. And so heaven, if you want to go to heaven, if you don't want to go to heaven, then I don't know. Heaven won't look like people just like you. It won't look like, people that are your race. It's going to look like a lot of things. We're not just going to sing hymns. We're not just going to sing gospel songs. I don't know what we're going to sing, but I'm pretty sure it's going to unify us all. And that's how we're going to move forward. So one last thing is we need to focus on what brings us together, on the victories. I know we can get routed up if our school wins something because we're together, we're united. Also, if you're not comfortable with each other, then that's how it's going to be in heaven. Then maybe start getting comfortable to go somewhere else. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm waiting on the day that we can praise break here at Trinity. And I don't know if you guys know what praise break is. If you don't, maybe look it up on YouTube. But I just hope that we can all be united and get to know and not assume everyone's stories. And I wish you guys a great year.
Thank you. So Trinity, this is the task before us. I know that for some of you, as you hear what Jenny said, you may be like cheering inside, like yes, those are the things we gotta talk about. So thank you, Jenny. You also may experience a different emotion where you go, whoa, I feel a little tempted to put up walls. Like, I'm not comfortable anymore. All of a sudden, this is like, not sure. But we're going to get into the messiness, right? Because this is complex. This is tough. And I want to challenge each and every one of you to have two postures as we engage in this together, in chapel and throughout our community. The first posture is this. It's a posture of openness. It's a posture that says, you know what? When I hear things that are different, I want to build up walls. I want to get angry. When I hear things that are ignorant or naive or it's a misassumption, I don't like it, and I want to punch him back. I just. But I want to encourage you to have a posture of openness. So you know what? Before I say anything, before I make any judgments, before I do anything, before I walk away, I'm gonna say, hey, can we talk about that? Why did you get so excited? Why did you get so passionate about that? Why does that story hit you in a different way? Jenny, why did you get scared? Why did you think this random guy in Oklahoma is representative of you? We don't think of you the same person at all. But for some reason, Jenny felt like this was reflecting on her. Why? Rather than saying, Jenny, that's ridiculous, say, Jenny, why? Help us understand. The second posture is a posture of embrace, right? That's like giving a hug. Now, you guys know, okay, like, we're in a Christian community here. So, like, this is like the hugs that I most commonly see, right? You, like, lean in, you're like this, like, if you're a guy and a girl, right? You go like this, you're like, right? Christian brotherly hug. You're like tipping over so much, you actually need to stay in this position, or else you, like, tip over, you know what I mean? Okay? That's a hug. That's not what the hug we're talking about, right? Not this hug. You know, sometimes, like, you'll go in, and it's like, I don't know, like Spencer, yeah, I see him. Sometimes, like, when Spencer gives you a hug, you're, like, bracing for it, right? Because you're like, oh, man, he's going to, like, really give me a bear hug. He's like, oh! And you're like, but there's, like, this hug, right? When you, like, hug somebody, and you feel safe. You feel like, this person gets me. Like, you fall, everything just perfect. Like, your face finds a resting place. The arms, everything is just like. And you feel like the hug can go forever, right? I hope that we as a community this year, we can find the opportunity to embrace one another, to hug one another, and to say, friend, you and I, we're together. We're brothers and sisters in Christ. We're fellow, beloved children of God. And I don't really care how different we are, because at the end of the day, we have one God. The same Jesus who died for me died for you. And what's important for you will therefore become important to me as well. Thank you for your attentiveness today. I know that this is not an easy conversation. I hope that you will journey along with us. It's my invitation for us to journey together as a Trinity community.